What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, today is an absolutely massive day for Gears of War fans, me included, because I love the Gears of War franchise. As you can see right here from VGC over on Twitter, the Coalition has reportedly shifted its full attention to the next entry in the Gears of War series, after two other titles in development at the Xbox studio were cancelled. Now, of course, even though I see this as a positive bit of news here, at the end of the day, it's so hard to get any positive news without there having to be any negatives. Am I right or am I wrong? It seems like every single time something good happens, something drastically bad has to happen alongside it. But, besides the good Gears of War news, it is a little sad that a couple of different titles got completely shut down, meaning that a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of time that individuals have invested into certain games, into certain projects, and certain passions have just been completely scrapped. Alongside, of course, people getting completely scrapped from their jobs as well. This isn't just games getting completely scrapped here. For those who don't know, behind the scenes, a lot of developers are just getting absolutely wiped clean when it comes to Microsoft at the moment. So, of course, that news is extremely bad to hear, but at the end of the day, Gears of War 6 is coming, ladies and gentlemen. It sadly has to be a price to pay, but my goodness, coming from a consumer's perspective, we have been going through the absolute crapper. I mean, Gears of War 5 has been out for how long now? With no information, no news, no articles, no nothing coming out for the next Gears of War game. And on top of that, they weren't even keeping Gears of War 5 updated nor alive at all either. Now, of course, the Gears of War community will still play these games. They'll still populate the servers on the occasion. There are some days where bots are, roaming. But, there will be other days where actual people will be online and playing. So you can get a decent experience out of Gears of War still. But at the end of the day, it does feel like a ghost town. It feels like an abandoned game, which later started to feel like an abandoned franchise, which is the complete opposite of what I want to see out of this game. Gears, even though I don't play it as much as I used to, will always have a special place in my heart. I remember the first time ever playing Gears of War, and my goodness, the experience was just, you could not compare it to any other game out there. You literally could not. It was one of a kind. It was fantastic. The adrenaline rush that you obtained from that game, on top of the horror factor that it produced, it was just outstanding. And I always love that about FPS games as well. I like when FPS games throw a little horror in there, kind of like how World at War did from the Call of Duty franchise. Even though the horror factor wasn't as crazy as Gears of War, it still had that bit of edge compared to other Call of Duty titles like Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, or Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2. The type of background music, the screams, the voice actors, the atmosphere, everything across the board had a little bit of a horror effect to it. And I love when games do that. And Gears of War was just stuffed with that type of stuff. And it wasn't corny horror stuff, because that becomes a problem a lot of times when FPS games or any games in general, if it's not like a single player driven, hardcore horror game like Outlast or something, or, the Resident Evil franchise or something like that. Getting some, legitimate horror out of an FPS game is kind of difficult. It can turn out corny very easily. And I guess it's not FPS. I should be saying third-person shooter, but at the end of the day, you get the point I'm trying to make here. But Gears of War did it in such a way that, I used to feel the fear down to the core back in the day when I was a kid. And still to this day, I don't feel it as much because between the music changes and just the atmosphere changes, it's not as gritty and as, dark as it used to be. But man, Gears still just hits the same way. Even in Gears 5, when I'm playing it and it's just an outdated game, I still just get those cravings that I used to crave back in the day when it comes to the gameplay perspective. So to finally hear that the Coalition is back, after being absent for all this time, actually is pretty welcome. And I understand that they have done us dirty multiple times. And, Gears of War really hasn't been the same like the OG Gears of War titles. But like I just said, even going through and playing Gears 5 still, or going back and playing Gears 4, I can play these Gears of War games. And even though the stories might not be as good as the originals, in my opinion, or they've changed certain aspects about the multiplayer, just when it comes down to the gunplay, still I have a good time. And it's not as good as it might have used to be, but man, it's just something that's so nitty and gritty about it, and fast-paced, arcadey. I enjoy games like that, and there's not many out there. Even Call of Duty is turning to be more of a very, tactical, position-based game. And yeah, Gears of War is definitely, no doubt at all, a position-based game. But it's a position based by movement. You're not going and getting a position to hold down. No, it's position based by being able to rotate and use cover to your advantage to engage with the enemy. So, because of my personal gameplay style, Gears is just amazing for me. It always has been, and it probably always will be. Even if the game dies out completely, I'll still probably want to dabble in Gears just like I do now, on the occasion, maybe once a week, maybe once every couple of weeks, hop on, play it, enjoy it, experience it, so on and so forth. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that there's not many games that give you that experience anymore, and they're finally coming back to give us another. I just want something that feels updated, that feels relevant, that feels loved. You know, it just sucks knowing that it's not just me, it's a lot of people out there who love Gears of War. Surprising enough, Gears of War is actually a decently popular topic on YouTube. It doesn't always go crazy, but when it comes to YouTube search results, surprising enough, a lot of people search for Gears of War. It's an extremely popular game. Tons of people love it. Yet and still, they don't give any love or passion or just any notice to the community right now as it is. They don't communicate with us. They don't let us know what's going on. And even when it comes to keeping their game updated, it's non-existent. And there's no excuses for this whatsoever because there's other games out there like Rainbow Six Siege or even Overwatch, even though Overwatch 2 is out now, but Overwatch 1 was out forever. There's games out there that have lasted for very long periods of time that stay updated, that stay relevant, that, they keep a voice with the community. Even if the community dies down a little bit, they still stay active. And the Gears franchise or the Gears community just doesn't have that. So knowing that the Coalition is coming back and they're coming back strong for the next Gears title leaves me pretty darn happy. Now, there is some sad news because obviously, like I just said a little bit earlier, there's a lot of layoffs going on within Microsoft, and the Coalition is clearly one of the development teams that got hit by this as well. So I am a tad bit worried on how the production of this game is going to go. If the lack of developers or who even were the developers who got cut in the first place, if this is going to affect the overall product or even postpone it and make it, happen years down the road instead of much sooner. I usually typically wouldn't mind having a game postponed for that long, but it's already been ages as it is. I don't want Gears of War to turn into like GTA, where we get one game every single day. No, I just want them to stay updated with us. But right now, during this current time, I don't think there's any way that, Gears of War would be able to make a comeback without making a new game. Even if they came back and started supporting Gears 5, it's just too late for that now. Yeah, I would love if they stuck with the game and supported it for life, but at the end of the day, we have to, understand that these past Gears games have not been at their top A games. The same thing that Battlefield's going through, Their past couple of games have been pretty darn rough. They don't have time to be waiting around or anything of that sort. At this point in time, they need to put out a banger. They can't postpone a game for 2, 3, 4 years down the road and say it's going to be outstanding, even if it is. Again, I would love for them to have the time that they need to develop a Gears title. But the question is right now, and I would love for you guys to answer this down in the comment section, do they have the time to develop a Gears title, or do they have to push one out? Because right now, the Gears community is dwindling to very small numbers. Even though it's still active from time to time, it's still dying out pretty heavily. And I don't know if there is a way that that can be regained, even with a brand new title. But again, make sure you go down in the comments and leave your opinion about that specific topic right there. Because I'll be honest, even though that is how I feel, Gears still makes absolute bank, For the overall franchise itself, it's made over $1 billion. Every single individual game itself makes millions. It doesn't matter. I think it's just like COD. People will still buy into it. People just know the name Gears of War. And even just for the single player, people will buy into it. So I don't know, Microsoft might not be stressed whatsoever with the state of how multiplayer will turn out. Multiplayer could die, and they'll probably still be happy because they made a check out of just, the name itself. But ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like button as I hate it. Leave a dislike. Also, for brand new, enjoy the content, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification button. Also, want to chat with us too, we do so. I have a Twitter and Discord, both linked down in the description. And also want to catch me live streams of video games, do over on Twitch. That's in the description as well. But guys, thanks so much for tuning in. See you on the next one. Peace out.